This is Uping stock trend prediction. In this video, I'll share some tips about how to find the best time to buy or to sell the Costco stock. So let's find the real-time data of Costco. So this is updated to Costco real-time stock data. Right now, this is, I can change it to daily chart. So this is, I can maybe change it to weekly chart, for example. So how to find the best time using the best time to sell or to buy a Costco stocks using an awesome tool to try to find the minimum value and the maximum value of the stock price fluctuation. So this tool is based on the advanced machine learning algorithm and the signal processing technique. So basically, this kind of a tool can predict the trend lines. That's a yellow trend line, for example. This represents the resistance trend line, or the blue trend line. This blue trend line is a kind of a support trend lines. So these trend lines are predicted and also generated before the real-time data was already generated. So maybe just after the first data points of the stock data was generated in a time frame. For example, in this daily chart, so that means if you just have something like several data points in the first day or in the first hour or first minutes, and then these trend lines are already generated, so you can use it as a tool to predict the minimum value and the maximum value. So for example, this is a daily chart. So right now, today is August 20th. So right now it's at night time. So right now this is today's data, the daily data, and this is yesterday's daily data. So you see from yesterday's data, these trend lines already predicted the minimum value of the stock price. So that means at a certain time it was dropped to the very low or minimum value of the stock price. So this left tick is the opening price. This is the high price, low price, and this is the closing price. So it's each vertical line is basically a candlestick of the stock price fluctuation that will represent the open, high, low, and the closing. So this kind of each vertical lines basically will tell you something like the real-time data that was captured in that day or in each day. So if you don't have this kind of trend lines, so for example, if I disable this kind of trend line, for example, if I disable this kind of ultimate indicator, if I disable this kind of trend lines, so each vertical lines is a kind of a candlestick of the real-time stock data, right? So when it fluctuates, when it's high, low, opening, high, low, and the closing, so this is just the past data. So you can see this is a high price or low price, but during that day, when it is fluctuate and it's drops, fluctuate up and side, up and down, up and down. So you don't know when the minimum value and the maximum value will be for that stock price fluctuation. So when the price, for example, stock price dropped down to this price, a lot of people will be panic or will be nervous, and then they will worry about when the stock price will stop decreasing. So they probably don't want to buy at this time because they are afraid of that the stock price. They're concerned that the stock price may continually drop down, so they don't know how to capture the minimum value or the maximum value of the stock price. So using this kind of a tool, this awesome tool from the Uping stock price prediction, so if I enable this kind of the add study, not add study, enable study, just enable this kind of a trend lines. Oh, that's from another computer. Okay, that display was tracked to another computer because I have multiple displays. So if I add studies, enable studies, and enable this ultimate indicator, so then I have this kind of Uping stock trend prediction trend lines. So these trend lines are based on the machine learning algorithm and the signal processing technique. So basically I can use this kind of trend lines to track the minimum value of the stock price fluctuation. So for example, even though I can show this kind of special dot of the minimum value, and this is the another layer for minimum value trend lines, and this is also the common used the trend line minimum value trend lines. So you see this kind of stock price fluctuations are captured very well between these trend lines and these trend lines. So for example, this trend line, this price is 445.48, and this price is 441.94, so it's basically 442. So if you can use this kind of a trend line to capture the minimum value, if you purchase the stock price around this price, so 442, and then during that day, that closing price or already increased to this level, so this price is 454. So there's a total of $12 difference, during that day. So if you can track this kind of trend lines or minimum value or maximum value or minimum value, so if you know this kind of a big difference, if you buy 100 shares, that's total you will earn $1,200. So basically that's just for 1 day's data. So if I change it to, for example, if I change it to 60 minutes data, the real-time data, so this is a 6 minutes data for yesterday. That's this vertical line is today's data, and this vertical line is yesterday's data. So that's about 7 of 60 minutes chart. So each vertical line in this 60 minutes chart, so each vertical line is basically a 60 minutes the fluctuation, stock fluctuation chart. So this is about 1 day's data, and this is yesterday's data. So you can see from yesterday's data, just during the first hour, and the stock price was dropped at this 441.83, and then it has started to increase and try to reach this maximum trend line, maximum value. So it's a kind of a good tool to track this kind of changes. So I can even show you the 15 minutes chart. So even for 15 minutes chart, this kind of trend lines can also predict the minimum value and the maximum value of the stock price fluctuation during that 15 minutes time frame. So if you are interested in this kind of tools, you can just continue to watch the videos from Uping stock price prediction in YouTube, or you can just subscribe the Uping stock price prediction or Uping stock trend prediction channel